Hi, this is Lotti Pharriss Knowles with the Hollywood Times, and I'm here with Jon Grishpul, who is the co-owner of Maxable and the co-founder of GreatBuildz.
That's it, Lotti.
All right, why don't you tell me a little bit about those two companies and what you all do?
Sure. So, in short, GreatBuildz is a matchmaking service that helps homeowners find ethical, reliable contractors. Frankly, one of the biggest issues in the remodeling industry is the fact that contractors do this every single day and homeowners do this maybe once every few years. So there's so many questions that are uneasy to ask that homeowners just are not aware of. GreatBuildz help homeowners every step through the process and matches them with the right contractors who are best fit for their project. Now, at GreatBuildz, we only work with general contractors, so anything from a bathroom to a kitchen or an ADU, we can certainly help with. Now, from the very beginning that we started our business, we were partnered with this other company, MaxableSpace.com. They were originally based in San Diego, and all they did was ADUs. And
Mm,
just a few years ago, we ended up actually acquiring the brand. So now we're running both of them. And in a nutshell, Maxable is a fully one-stop shop for everything ADUs. So just like GreatBuildz, our focus is educating homeowners, better informing them on what ADUs are, how they work, what options there are, what the legal requirements are for them. And within the Maxable ecosystem, we also have a vetted network of architects, contractors, lenders. So it plugs in very logically to our greater GreatBuildz business because
yes.
either way, we're helping educate homeowners, we're helping equip them with the resources and information they need to stay well informed in such a confusing, stressful industry. And if they need it, we put them in touch with the right architects, contractors.
Great. Yeah, that's fantastic. And listen, we're here in Los Angeles. People may be watching from all over, but for those in Los Angeles, we know we have two major things right now. We have the fires that happened, and a lot of people are going to be rebuilding. And so finding an ethical contractor when people are already in a pretty stressful situation is very important. And secondly, we have the explosion of ADUs or additional dwelling units, also known as granny flats, mother-in-law suites, guest houses, you name it. And full disclosure, as I was telling you before we started, I just finished the process of a garage to ADU conversion. I got very lucky that I had a friend recommendation that was of a great contractor, but not everybody has that. So I think the service you're providing is really important right now. So let's talk a little bit about this ADU explosion. Talk to me about what you and your partner, is it Paul Dashevsky?
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. How did you see this start becoming such a big thing? And what do you think is driving that people are looking to build an ADU?
Yeah. So I can come up with any number of reasons after the fact, but frankly, it was just perfect timing. We started our GreatBuildz company around 2019, just as the ADU regulations started to become much more flexible,
Mm,
2017 to 2019 and thereafter. And we decided early on, along the lines of the brand we wanted to build, we wanted to educate homeowners and
mhm.
learn as much as we can about the industry and help spread that to everyone else who's actually looking for it. So we just decided, let's write some articles about ADUs.
Mm.
And out of nowhere, the phone started ringing and everyone started asking us questions about ADUs because it was a new thing and we felt like writing about it.
Yeah.
That certainly over the last 5 years plus, we've really seen the industry develop. And I'd say the main reason that people love the concept of an ADU is it is so flexible. It can be used as a rental. It can be used as a home office or gym. It can be used to house extra family for the short term. In the long term, you can use it as a short term rental in some areas. So just the dynamic nature of this space, as well as the fact that whether you choose to use it as a rental and earn passive income that way, or just look at it like adding value to your property, increasing the value of the property. Just
That's
if you had a 2-bedroom home and you added on to it to get a third bedroom and maybe another bathroom, your home's now worth more. However, this is potentially worth even more than that because it is a full independent living space. So I'd say those are some of the main reasons that people are deciding to move forward with these projects. But I've seen so many unique, interesting use cases that I would have never thought that the concept of ADUs would even be used towards.
Yeah, and talk to me a little bit about the regulations that you said were easing, just to give our viewers a little background on what happened. Certainly,
Yeah, and it's totally in relation to the housing
mhm,
crisis. It comes from a California statewide level, and it's being pushed across every county and every city. Essentially, California realized, wait a second, we need to provide more housing and ideally more affordable housing. Otherwise, this whole state's not going to work.
right,
More and more people want to keep coming here, and more people who are here can't afford the increasing rate. Frankly, 10 years ago, there was just so much red tape around the concept of doing this type of thing. You had to be in a certain zone, you had to have a certain amount of space on your lot, you could only build a certain type of space, and you couldn't use it as a rental.
uh,
And from 2017 into 2019, and at this point, things are changing every 3 to 6 months, its ADUs essentially became legal on any residential property.
wow,
Similarly, on the flip side, I have worked with clients who couldn't go into their office anymore, still wanted to see clients because they were a therapist, and they ended up converting their garage into an ADU that they use in the short term as their office. But
yeah,
they knew long term that it was something they either wanted to use for themselves to live in or to rent out down the road. So they made certain decisions in the design and ended up spending more up front. Another big thing that I would recommend anyone do is do your homework. Knowing what it's going to cost and how long it's going to take is going to have a huge impact on how you plan to do it and whether you plan to do it at all. And unfortunately, part of the reason I started this company is because there's so much misinformation out there. Read one of the articles that says you can build an ADU by buying one off Amazon for
right,
$20,000 and it's cheap and it's easy.
yeah,
If you go into your project expecting to only spend $20,000 for this type of project, you're in
yeah,
for a headache because
yeah.
it probably didn't cost $20,000.
And,
So
and
doing your
we did it
homework,
all because when there's all sorts of, there's the permitting. I know some people don't do the permitting. That seems a little
right?
scary to me. I would assume that you recommend doing it legally with the full permits and blessing of your city. And
Look, on the record, I will say yes, you should always do things legally, using permits, and so on. I will also say, and there's been a lot of regulations and updates over the past few years around this, LA and I'm sure most of California is riddled with unpermitted illegal dwellings.
yeah,
Chances
right.
are people are renting it out and paying to live there.
Yeah,
It may not be legal, it may not be safe because it hasn't passed the necessary inspections to
right.
confirm that it's all safe. So there's so much out there
Yeah,
already. You might say, if other people are doing it, why shouldn't I?
right.
It depends on your intention. And
Yeah,
at the end of the day, it's my job to tell people the right way to do it and to understand the risks of doing it other ways.
yeah,
It as an office, okay, fine. If you're using it for an overnight guest every now and then, maybe no problem, less
yeah,
of an issue. But if you are charging someone money to live in this space permanently, you're signing up for a huge recipe for disaster because there's liability issues,
right.
there's cost issues like the risk of getting a squatter because once they realize that they're living in an illegal space,
Yeah, have
kind of
you
have
over
the
a
upper
barrel.
hand.
Yeah,
So I'd
yeah,
say that is one of the main risks of going through a project this significant without using permits. People
right.
always think it can be cheaper. People always think it's easy, but at the end of the day, an ADU is a small home. Everything that goes into a 2,500 square foot home, all the same work goes into this tiny little box.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that can go wrong, whether it's
Right.
electrical, plumbing, sewage, whatever else it is, structurally. Don't sign up for that. Don't let yourself get into that kind of a headache. It's not
Yeah.
worth it. And
Yeah.
one last thing that I wanted to touch on, what you mentioned, I don't believe it's passed yet. However, things are, if not already passed, very close to passing that will streamline both the front end of reviewing plans and providing permits
Mm.
and the back end of handling inspections.
Oh,
These
great.
are supposed to, they've always said within 60 days, but now there's an actual plan. You as the homeowner have a right to engage a third party to
Mm.
handle the plan review process. I believe the city has 10 days to send out an inspector to review the work. If they don't send someone out within that 10 days, you have a right to bring in a third party inspector to handle that inspection for you.
Oh, let's talk a little bit about some things people really need to make sure they're aware of and that they take care of if they're going to become a landlord all of a sudden with one of these ADUs on their property.
Yeah, I'd say first order is what we already talked about. If you plan on renting it, if you plan on becoming a landlord, you're taking on risk. So make
Hmm.
sure that everything is built properly, legally, permits pulled, and everything like that. Also, as a landlord, it's important that you understand what your restrictions are, what your regulations are that you have to follow. Do you have to register to have a legal rental unit? And similarly, I would say one of the main things is just understanding that a lot of people think, oh, I can become a landlord. I can put my back garage on Airbnb, no
Right.
problem. Most of LA and a lot of different areas have restrictions with regard to short-term rentals.
Yeah.
That kind of goes back to how do you design a space? Designing a space for a short-term rental versus a long-term rental, even, you might consider different design elements, different
Hmm.
options, and so on. So, thinking about what kind of rental you'd like to have, what price point you want to charge,
Oh,
understanding the market in your local area. If you are going to embark on a project that's going to cost 120, $150,000 or more, you want to make sure that you do the math, that you run your numbers and understand from an investor's perspective, from a landlord's kind of money generating perspective, okay, if I'm going to spend this much on it, how much do I need to make in rent monthly, annually to get my return? How long is it going to take to get my return? What are the other fees? Do I have to pull money from my mortgage? Understanding all the numbers in this
hmm.
is a really important evaluation because
Yeah.
you may you may see an article somewhere that says ADUs are renting out for $4,000.
Yeah.
And then it turns out that was a 1,200 square foot ADU in Beverly Hills, and
Right.
you have a 350 square foot ADU in another part of LA, like in
Yeah.
the Valley or something, where rents are just typically a lot lower. So
Right.
doing your homework, seeing what similar apartments rent at in your local neighborhood is really important. ADUs are a step above most rentals, right? Would you rather live, if you're looking for a one bedroom, a single person, let's say, would you rather live in a large apartment building where you have to
Hmm.
park in a garage and go upstairs or an elevator and go down the hall and you share walls with a baby on one side and loud college kids on the other side, right? Or do you want your own four walls and have a private space and totally your own? And on top of that, most apartments in LA are
Yeah.
older. So that compared to a brand new ADU
Right.
that is a
New
newly finished
construction.
space,
Yeah.
even if it's rental grade materials, it's still brand new. And if you
Hmm.
use a good contractor, the work's all done really well.
Yeah.
It's not going to rent as high as a single family home of the
Right.
same size, but
Mhm.
there are so many niceties and benefits that come from the style of living that comes from an ADU. And then I'd say the last thing that comes to mind is, yeah, you are becoming a landlord, but it's a little bit different than being a real estate investor. This person is moving into your backyard if you live in the main home.
Yeah.
There are ways to design a space, or you put a big fence so it truly feels to independent living spaces. If you're the type of person that loves to have big parties in your backyard, if you have a crying baby at home, those are all considerations too of, okay, how will my life be impacted by adding this ADU in my yard?
And of course, there are the practical considerations as well, such as certain things are required if you're doing it legally, like a full kitchen, but then a washer dryer in the unit might be optional. It depends on the jurisdiction. I just requested my contractor go ahead and pull a certificate of occupancy renting. Yeah, all sorts of practical concerns as well as social, emotional of suddenly having someone in your backyard, which could be
Right.
great or not.
And how do you find a tenant?
Right.
What type of tenant do you want? Do you want like the traveling nurse tenant? Do you want
Yeah.
a young family that's going to live there for the next 5 years?
Yeah.
So many different, or would you only be willing to rent to a friend or a friend of a friend? Do you
Right.
want to maintain some personal connection? So there's so much to think about
Yeah.
and analyze at the very start of your project so that how you want to do it, what makes sense, how much you're willing to budget for the project, and everything else.
Other than the fact that clearly you know a lot about this and can be helpful, what are some other reasons if I'm starting this? Why should I go over to Maxable and or GreatBuildz, right? Yeah, why should I go
Yeah,
over to Maxable and or GreatBuildz and oh, let's did we talk about the AI tool?
we haven't.
Let's talk about that as well because that's a
I'll
really
I'll
big.
cover that and then we can close up. So I'll say one of the biggest issues as I've been working in this industry for almost 7 years with GreatBuildz, there's a lot of shady contractors out there and there's what we call the knowledge imbalance between homeowners and contractors. Contractors do it every day, homeowners don't. So when it comes to doing the hard work of selecting a contractor, that can be really confusing and stressful and oftentimes lead to a disaster. From our research, homeowners typically decide on a contractor based on really two things: how they feel when they were with them, did they get a good vibe during their meeting? And two, the price, the lowest bid. But
Hmm.
it turns out that is often a huge mistake. When it comes to evaluating contractors and collecting estimates, there's no consistency in this industry. You might get four different bids from four different contractors. One is going to be written on the back of a napkin with a couple words and a number.
Yeah.
Another is going to be a 10-page report with every single line item called out with their pricing and their markup and your pricing,
Hmm.
a list, what their overhead is and what their profit margin is. Some contractors will give you everything. And
Yeah.
then some of those estimates might say, all right, the kitchen's going to cost this, the bathroom's going to cost this, and the ADU is going to cost this. So how do you look at those? Is the cheaper one truly the best deal, or is it missing half of the scope that's in the other one?
Right.
So that's always been a free service that we've offered at GreatBuildz, helping our homeowners compare estimates apples to apples, because that's truly the best way to know which one's giving you the best deals. You put them up and line them up side by side so that they make sense.
Yeah.
And although it is a free service we've always offered, we only have the capacity to offer the service to our clients. And we currently only operate in California.
Mm.
And
Gotcha.
I'll say I've been doing this for years. My team's been doing this for years, and attention to detail to make sure that you're accurately comparing all the details.
Absolutely.
I've been nerding out about AI since the beginning, and I saw this as an amazing opportunity to take all of my wisdom and our team's experience in evaluating bids and creating a free tool that anyone can use instantly.
Yeah.
Introducing Bid Compare AI. It's
Woohoo!
available on the GreatBuildz website. I'm working on putting a banner up front and center so everyone can see it and get to it easily. But essentially, it turns that process into a comprehensive, easy to understand experience.
Mm.
All that anyone needs to do is take the bids that you collected from your contractors, just upload those files into
Mm.
the Bid Compare AI tool, put in your name and email, and you can currently upload anywhere between 2 bids to 4 bids, because I always say it's good to get at least 3 estimates
Yeah.
when evaluating any type of project.
Um,
You upload your files, give it a few minutes because the system has to do a lot of thinking, and you'll get an email that gives you two really cool things. The first is a bid comparison spreadsheet. It just analyzed everything that it could through all the bids you uploaded and show you on an Excel spreadsheet side by side all of the different scope items and all of the different numbers that each contractor is charging for each of those things. And if
Wow.
the number's not easily understandable because it's not broken up well enough, it'll at least give you a check mark, an X saying it's not included, a question mark that tells you, I'm not sure if this is included. It's a little bit vague in the
Right.
estimate. So that right there is really helpful. It takes hours of work into just a few minutes to help you better understand which one's giving you a better deal.
Cool.
However, that's not enough because you still may not fully understand what you're getting from this bid that's not included in that
Yeah.
bid, because beyond just line items, there's different things that you may have experienced in your recent project of allowances. What materials is the contractor paying for? What materials am I responsible for? There's a lot more in between the lines, if you will. Always.
Yeah.
Always. And also the fact that you may show the two different contractors the exact same project. They may interpret things differently. They may misunderstand a detail from your plans. They may have heard a word you said and taken it a different way. So in addition to just the side-by-side comparison, if one of them has a foundation cost of $60,000 and another one doesn't have a cost for foundation, or maybe only $10,000, now what? So in addition to the spreadsheet, you also receive an analysis report that gives you a full high-level understanding of each of the bids you submitted, follow-up questions that you can send to each of your contractors to better refine the estimates, and overall give you a better understanding of what are these bids saying, what's confusing or misleading about these bids, what materials am I responsible for, just a way to take this 5-word or 20-page report and make them all relatively equal, relatively easier to understand, and equips you with the tools you need to go back to your contractor and have them provide you more details, refine their bid, so that you can go back to the spreadsheet and truly fill in all the gaps and know
Yeah.
which contractor is giving you the best deal.
Very cool. And also, at GreatBuildz, it sounds like you also know if people are bonded, insured, reputable, this kind of thing as well. So, because that is so important to make sure you're getting someone who's truly a professional and who's not going to leave you in the lurch.
The question you asked earlier about why GreatBuildz compared to all the other options out there. First, it's free. There's no risk to it. Just give us a try. Check out our reviews. Every single person who's ever worked with us has absolutely loved it. And I don't think I'm exaggerating. I'm really impressed with our team for just providing such a stellar experience and executing on really our mission as an organization. But beyond the fact that it's free, it's because we actually care. We care about our customers, the homeowners. We care about maintaining a really high quality network of contractors. So the top priority for us is contractor vetting, whether it's through Maxable building an ADU or through GreatBuildz for any other kind of remodeling project. So it's really important to do all of your homework when it comes to vetting contractors, and we've done it all for you. We've spent years vetting contractors, evaluating their work to make sure that we're only bringing in the right contractors. Plus, any contractor that's in our network, we're constantly evaluating. Every time we introduce to a new homeowner, we get feedback. Every time they finish a job.
Yeah, and like I said, I feel very lucky that I had a good experience, but I know people who haven't. So, anybody else out there thinking about doing this, talk to Jon, go to Maxable or go to GreatBuildz, and yeah, make sure you do your due diligence or have someone like him who's going to help you do it. Jon, thank you so much for the service you're offering, but also for talking with us today. Really appreciate it. Hopefully, this is going to help a lot of people out who are, as we know, thinking about this right now. Hopefully, we'll have some folks who will come your way after seeing this.
Thank you, Lotti. It's my pleasure to be here, and I'm always happy to shout from the rooftop how to get rid of bad contractors forever.
Yay! Excellent.